Welcome to Offset. Larry and the Big Man along with Dave Ricchini. Get ready for a big weekend. Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Dublin, Ireland to host the Minnesota Vikings. We'll get into all of that. We appreciate you being with us. Want to thank One Team Media and our team here. We've got a great operation. Brian Hess is the leader, and we've got Logan Douglas helping us produce this episode. And I want to thank Michael Spacciapoli from Odyssey Pittsburgh, 93.7 The Fan with Andrew Filipponi, afternoons with Chris Muller.
Yeah, we also want to thank the Rourke Automotive Group. They're our title sponsor. We're so happy they wanted to be a part of it. And again, with a new location in Canonsburg, a 200,000 square foot building, and everything is inside. Go take a look. But they do such a great job, and they're all over the city of Pittsburgh. But thanks for being a part of it, Dave. Appreciate it.
And as we get ready for, it's hard to believe that we're looking at week 4 already in the National Football League. We'll also get into some talk games in college football, talk about the Ryder Cup, and Marc-André Fleury wants to retire as a Pittsburgh Penguin. That's happening this weekend with some unusual circumstances. But guys, let's talk about some of the things that happened. I know special teams, I don't think people appreciate how important, especially at this level, special teams are.
It was crazy watching on Sunday, Jay.
Yeah.
You know, I had all the TVs going. Every time I looked up at a screen, somebody was blocking a field goal. And the fact that it changed the outcomes of games. And almost, you know, at least 2 games and maybe a third game with the Jets and Buccaneers. But it's amazing. It's the one, you know, offense, defense, but it's the one aspect of the team that it's seldom thought of. And even you take away the blocked field goals, just, you know, watching a Sunday night game with the Giants and they announce as they're getting ready to kick off, by the way, Graham Gano's got a groin injury. He may not be able to kick today. So all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, if they get in field goal range, they can't kick it. And then they did attempt to one, and it was
off the helmet.
Again, blocked twice. Another block kick. But it was really interesting to watch. I know there were some bad beats if you're a gambler out there that, you know, the block field was affected, but I know you have an opinion on that, Jay.
Yeah, I did too, because it's really amazing, the kicking game in general. And we talk about it. And it's you're this one player, whether it be a punter, field goal kicker, and what it means inside that system. But it's the battery, it's the group, it's the long snapper, it's the holder in the field goal, but a long snapper with the punter. I mean, it's a different part of a game. And you have to be at your best all the time, and the pressure that goes with it. And when we saw games, as Dave just mentioned, Larry, ride right down to the end. And if you're not in sync and if somebody misses an assignment, whether it comes off the edge or through the middle, it changed outcomes of multiple games. And it was the same for me. I went from one from the Steelers, quick put on Green Bay and the Jets, happened there, right? So they gave that game away. They get a field goal blocked. And that could have been returned, by the way. The way it played out, too, 2 were returned. This one could have been taken back to the house as well. You saw the Eagles with the Rams, I think 2 blocked field goals.
In the fourth quarter.
Right. So, ironically, Bernie Perron, who's longtime goalie for the Flyers, won the Stanley Cups, their first 2 Stanley Cups. I think the world in Philadelphia felt like that was Bernie Perron blocking those field goals. That's the headlines out of there, if you know. But truth be told, and it's, for me, it's amazing that somebody can get over, you know, jump over somebody, didn't use the leverage or anything like that, but coming off the edge, again, if you miss, you don't take care of your own assignment, it's going to go the other way. And your kickers are so good. 50-plus is just normal now. But when you do it, you're driving a lower, whatever it might be. All these games came into play. I felt that the special teams turned so many, as Dave mentioned, bad beats. Yeah, that happened to a number of people, and still the complaining still going on. You could hear it across the board. But the lines are so tight, and those field goal blocks turned a lot of games.
The Eagles game, Larry. Eagles were favored by 3.5, and they had a 1-point lead when the Rams were lining up for the second field goal. Not even the first one, the second one. And then the defensive tackle blocks it. A big defensive tackle recovers it and runs 60 yards.
I saw it. I think it was Bernie Perron. For those that don't know, Philadelphia Flyer great, passed last weekend at the age of 80. But
it's a great guy.
Philly and their passion for hockey too. He was loved by that city.
Yeah, he was a great. I've had the opportunity to meet him over the years when we'd be in Philadelphia, and he was a great guy. And again, won Stanley Cups for Philly, and he's just one of those guys that was liked by everybody. So Yeah, and that's why I said they referenced it because they talked about it during the game, like, because there was a slogan, I think, only God saves more than Bernie, right? So that was during the playoff run.
I remember those bumper stickers.
Yeah, it was out there all over the place. So, but yeah, that's a sad passing note there. But on to the stuff too about the game, and the other one that I saw too, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay was given 6.5. You might have got 6, and they were going to kick the field goal. And that guy returned on them, too. So you'll watch it, not only the block, but the return. So it made it entertaining. I think Aaron Glenn celebrated a little too early, running down the sidelines. Really happy that went. Because Baker Mayfield, for me, and I know we're talking about games, too, Baker Mayfield has just a way about himself right now, and he's willing that team night in and night out when he's in. And it's, I believe, Dave, he's the first quarterback to have final drive in the first 3 weeks of the season to come back like that?
First team in the Super Bowl era to record a game-winning score in the final minute of the fourth quarter in each of its first 3 games.
Yeah.
They love him down there in Tampa because he was basically run out of Cleveland, and they kind of missed the magic of Baker Mayfield.
Larry, it's a fight. And your brother, Dan Marino, guys play injured, and when they do it, it's a really, in every sport, you're being paid to play the game, and you got to play injured. But when you play injured and something's not the same, like you just don't feel right or whatever, it should be understood through the system, like, hey, he's putting it all on the line. He was doing that for the Browns right down to the bitter end, right?
Right.
Playing hurt. Brutal team in front of him, really, at times, right?
Yeah.
No protection. He's running for his life. They turned on him, and look what he's done. So I bet across the board, a lot of people are happy for what he's done. But truly, what an NFL player, NHL player, baseball, basketball, all that goes with it, when you're playing hurt, it's tough because if your performance isn't quite the same, then it's held against you. That's brutal, right? That's the tough, brutal side of sports. And sometimes it goes that way. And Cleveland did that to him, and they've been swimming ever since. I mean, they've been brutal ever since. Look at the deals they've done on the quarterback side once they got rid of him. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke what they've done out there. And he's just running with it in Tampa. Well, he took advantage of, he had to earn it. He paid his dues. Yeah, I think it was the Rams that really turned it around for him. And opportunity.
You saw after the game, he said it was personal because the Jets defensive coordinator, Steve Wilks, was the head coach in Carolina when he was released. And Wilks wanted to put him as third in the depth chart, and they negotiated a release. And then he landed in L.A. with the Rams. And that's the game where he basically got there on Tuesday and started a game on Thursday. And
it was unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah. I mean, he didn't even know the guys he was playing. He didn't know the plays or anything.
Remember that game.
And then, he landed the contract in Tampa and just really excelled. And even, this year, it's...
To me, as a fan, they appreciate, to your point, he's playing injured.
Yeah.
Dan used to say there's a difference between being injured and hurt. You can't really play if you're hurt. But everybody in the league, and I'm sure it's the same way in hockey, you get this far into, getting into week 4, the bumps and bruises, and then through the course of the season, nobody's feeling 100%, I wouldn't think.
No, you're only seeing a guy in a uniform. I mean, you see a guy in a uniform and everything's covered up, whatever's wrong with that individual. I mean, I'm always blown away by, when I think of like NFL players and I'll jump to the NFL game, guy in an ACL. Oh, he tore his ACL, he's back. Not wearing a brace, not whatever. That to me, your running game and your work, your world, how you're going to earn your living, put food on the table is one hit away from being done. And you're trying to find your way back. I mean, Adrian Peterson changed the dynamic of that when he came back, I think within 6 months and was playing an NFL game. It's amazing what can be done today, but still, the mental thing to overcome from ACL injuries, look at the guys going down with Achilles tendons, all the stuff that happps.
Yeah, you never used to hear it that much before.
No, I don't think so. It's, who knows what's on that, the training, whatever else goes on. It's kind of wild to me how many Achilles we're seeing today. You're right, you didn't hear it before. And what it did, it was a rare injury. It was out there, but it was rare. I find it amazing what athletes can do and come back. But that's why guys getting as much money, I know I'm jumping around here a little bit, but guys getting as much money as they can, because you are that one play away from being truly done. And nobody cares. When you're done, they move on.
There's an old saying, glory is fleeting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough battle when you get. That's why guys don't ever want to get out of the. You don't ever want to get out of the lineup. It was the Yankee, right? Go back. You don't want to take yourself out. You'll play until they have to pull you out, or you'll say you'll go back in because you open up an opportunity for somebody and they take full advantage. They're waiting for their opportunity, somebody behind you. So you never want to give it up, but you play through it. And I was just referencing about Baker Mayfield because I've watched him. He's entertaining to watch. He's a battler. He fights. It's great to watch. But he went through it, and a team that turned on him when he was playing the game hurt. And everybody, all the guys where we watch all weekend, they're all playing hurt already. Like you said, through 3 weeks of the season, it's a battle. Christian Kuntz in the middle, long snapper for the Steelers, dealing with injuries. And nobody knows if he makes a bad snap, people will be all over. But they're doing a great job. They make it happen and get done with it. But it is a tough world, and that's and I think what players have to go through and accomplish. You're paid handsomely for it, but it's a grind.
You're thinking of Wally Pipp.
I was Wally Pipp. Yeah, you don't want to be Wally Pipped. That's right.
Yeah.
You're really right. You don't want to be Wally Pipped.
Just real quick, you talked about the NHL. Think about, every postseason when a team is eliminated, that next day, so and so's undergoing surgery for this. So they're playing through injuries. That's a grinding series too. They're going through. So it's that, and the one name that comes to mind is Nick Chubb. Think about how many injuries. It started in college at Georgia. And then he had that catastrophic injury in Pittsburgh. I still remember.
I saw it.
He keeps coming back. He's still playing,
especially for a running back.
I find it, as I said, you could even so. My youngest daughter Madison tore ACL playing basketball. So it's and you're trying to talk athletes through it. It's a mental. There's such a mental side that you got a hurdle you got to get over. I said that you mentioned Nick Chubb. You mentioned these running backs, wide receivers. Their life is what they're doing. Their speed, their quickness, but it's the hurdle to get your first hit out of the way. Again, we've all been through injuries, and then you got to get through that first phase of what it's like, and then till you really start to feel confident. And some never get it. Some never get it back, but other players have battled through it and went on with a great career, and some are done.
Playing hockey, like any other sport, really challenging if something like that happens. But I am embarrassed to say, swinging a golf club, I tore my meniscus just from swinging, trying to drive as far as people like Jay Caufield. You have to, it's just not fair. Sometimes life isn't fair. So
you bring us all back down to earth right there. You just certainly did right there. There's I get it.
Anybody that, I'm sure you've had injuries, Dave, right?
I stopped playing basketball because I would show up and my lower back would hurt, it's from after stretching. So that's got all that. And then my first thought was, well, I don't want to ruin my golf swing. So I'm like, okay, I'll sacrifice basketball for golf. But that's, yeah.
I mentioned my youngest daughter tore ACL, my oldest daughter tore PCL, which is a rare injury. It's the outside. And I did that in hockey one year. Even that is, you don't have to have surgery, but it's still. So I'm just giving these injuries that happen through high school into college, and Dave mentioned, Dave's an athlete. Dave's a great golfer, all these things that go with it. But when you have to battle, even like us, the everyday weekend golfer, something doesn't feel right. You're trying to adjust your swing to whatever it might be. But it's part of the deal, and they all understand it when you sign on the dotted line, even in college. So that you can understand that. You can understand why they're trying to get as much money as you can, even whatever it is, because to your line, right, Larry? It's only around so long. Not everybody plays as long as Sidney Crosby. Not everybody plays as long as Dan Marino did. Not everybody plays as long as we see Aaron Rodgers. To be able to have a lengthy career and be that good at the sport, that's one thing, but to avoid injury that kind of takes you out.
Pitchers, Tommy John surgery, you're sidelined a year and a half. Think about that. That's a long rehab.
Yep.
I don't have that problem. My last athletic event was bocce competition in Little Italy days in Bloomfield, the Irish against the Italians. I just, that was, I'll be okay. But let's go back to Baker Mayfield's old team in Cleveland.
Yeah.
If you saw this matchup based on the Packers and everything said about how they're going to dominate in the NFC, How in the world do the
Okay.
Browns beat them?
So I felt it was a trap game all along, right? It's a game you had to watch, but not thinking that they would really give it away. And I think the reason why I felt like they were going to come through all right was they played Baltimore the week before. Cleveland did. They shut down Derrick Henry. Even after the D-back was saying he's easy to bring down. I thought Derrick Henry was going to run all over them, right? They shut him down. Their defense is good. They fly to the ball. They have an attitude. I thought Green Bay, seeing that Baltimore, yeah, they came away with the win with a bigger number, but I think pick six, stuff like that, they added, they stacked on points. I thought Green Bay would have been well aware and not caught off guard. They were sloppy. They weren't good. And when you have a good defense that's aggressive and flying to the ball, they didn't care who it was. They were getting a piece of everybody. Cleveland, and then you had a bad decision by a quarterback who's rolling along. I think when you get comfortable and cocky, the NFL is gonna make you pay for it. Every sport makes you pay for it. So, but to me, they lit themselves up. I mean, that's in Green Bay. You imagine Green Bay today? We know what it's like when the Steelers don't win here. In Green Bay, that's the same. It's a small town.
Forget their fans own the team.
I know, right? Yeah. So not happy. They let one go. That was one you should just walk away from. But you got to play the game. When you show up, you can't just show up and think you're that good. I said they have an attitude on defense because Micah Parsons came there. They're all different. But if one guy a little laxed, a little this, in any sport, if you're not at your best or focused on what you need to do, you're going to get beat. And they get beat. They deserve to get beat. But I think a tough defense is good. They're tough.
Miami last Thursday night goes to Buffalo, and it's tied 21-all going into the fourth quarter. And you're like, how is this possible? Miami's now 0-3. They're not a good football team. I picked Buffalo to win the Super Bowl. They're at home, and you wonder, how are they still in this game? So.
Yep.
Yeah, the Browns, 204 yards allowed per game. And they've played the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Packers. And your point, 23 yards to Derrick Henry, 30 yards to Josh Jacobs. What's even more surprising, they only have one takeaway this year. So they're limiting teams. They're not turning the ball over. And really, they should be 2-1. If their kicker makes a kick against the Bengals in week one, they're 2-1, and it's completely different. But their defense is legit.
Yeah. So as Dave's saying, if you looked at the Steelers' schedule and go, okay, Cleveland, it's a mess quarterback-wise, Joe Flacco just does what he does. It's amazing run for his career. But now you look at those Cleveland games, you go, you better be at the top of your game when you go against those games where you think you might be able to put a W, which you really shouldn't do that, but we can do it. But if they were, it's not going to be that. It's not going to be that easy. And Dave, you gave the numbers. I didn't know that, but they said they're out there. I watched them. They fly to the ball, and they're aggressive.
All right, two very good teams. I think Chargers and Broncos battle. Before we move on to the big man blitz, Dave?
Yeah, that was a not surprising, but it just seems like in years past, the Chargers would lose these games. They'd start off hot, and then just something would happen. But I texted Jay about this on Sunday. There's just something different about this Chargers team. And I think, Justin Herbert's playing great football. And in last couple of seasons, it was, he doesn't have the weapons. Well, now, they've got Keenan Allen, who came back as a veteran. Ladd McConkey, rookie last year has been really good. Quentin Johnson, who was a first-round pick last year, never really took off. But this year, he's playing great. He's a big play threat, has a couple of touchdowns for them already. It's just a different feel. And then you also look at the AFC West. So they're 3-0. They've beaten the Broncos and they've beaten the Chiefs. And if you watch the Chiefs on Sunday night, there's something not right with that offense. Now, I know they're dealing with some things at wide receiver.
Taylor Swift. But
ever since Travis Kelce got engaged. And,
they haven't been able to.
But they'll get Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy back. But it's just, if you're the Chargers, you have to be ecstatic. A 2-game lead and have already beat two of the teams that are expected to be competing for the division.
You think about what a coach means to a team and an attitude and a personality. And for me, Harbaugh's, whether you like him, don't like him, whatever it is, wherever he goes, Jim Harbaugh, he develops a winner, right? What he did with the 49ers.
Took him to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he got rid of Alex Smith and put Kaepernick in. He made that move. He made that decision, which was a tough one for Smith to deal with. I remember, at the time when I was going down, usually not when you get injured, that's not supposed to happen that way. Well, all of a sudden, like the real world strikes you and you go, hey, we're on a roll here. And this guy brings something a little different. Well, he just develops winners. And it's a perfect fit right now for the Chargers. He and Herbert. And yeah, you have to have a great quarterback. And that guy's got an arm like, I think if they just put it together, he's just going to rise into that category of discussion with the Josh Allens and what that's about, because he's a machine. When he throws the ball, he's got just a great release again too, and a guy that can control it and handle it. And I think Denver was supposed to be the team, under Peyton, and their defense was supposed to be that good, but I mean they've got holes, and and it gets exposed in games like that, like it did the other day.
All right, what about the big man blitz?
Yeah.
Jay Caufield.
Yeah, Dave, Dave Ricchini but this is his idea. So we came up with it, and it's true. Every week you can look at something and see what does irk you, or what's, you're not happy
sour.
with it. You're sour. So that's right. It makes you sour. It's true. It's so when I do watch the tush push thing with the Eagles, yeah, and their argument's always going to be, well, stop us. You can't stop us. Well, every time you watch a clip of it, you can even see it on TV that they're jumping off sides. All these things are going wrong. And they say it's hard to officiate. Why? You can see movement that didn't seem right, and they pile in. Now, I say that, but I'm not a fan of pushing the pile anywhere. I'm just not. So I'd be a hypocrite if I said, oh yeah, but Jalen Warren ran to the outside, got stopped with two linemen behind him, pushed him 5 more yards. No, I'm not a fan of that. And I've been on the other side of it. When you're a linebacker, I've stepped up and you get a big push from the other side and linemen are pushing. I'm saying I don't like the tush push, but if you're a person that doesn't like the tush push, then you can't like pushing a pile anywhere on the field. And I don't. They should stop it. If they're stopped and it's a big drive up, they should give them forward progress right at the point. That's what I believe. I don't like the tush push, but nobody can stop it. And they do it, by the way, they do it to perfection, but there are multiple times they're jumping off sides and it's not being called.
They did it Sunday.
Oh, so
back-to-back times they did it. The first time they did it, the guard is jumping in, and that's what the coaches are upset about. If you're going to allow this to happen, then call it. You know, you can't. It's no different than a regular play. You can't move first before the center snaps the ball, and they've been guilty.
I don't know why they're letting it happen.
Hard.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
Jay,
you're not
see, it's just like any other play. How about when you don't really see anything and they call movement? You're like, well, where was that? If they can see that, why can't?
So if you're
so quick,
I agree.
You have 10 guys in a confined space moving.
Yeah, but you're still supposed to be staggered. You're still there's a center. You're supposed to be back. To me, I've said what you're mentioning there is perfect. It follows up with what I believe in. I don't like the play. I get it. Quarterback sneak is one thing. That's fine. You had to be good to do that, right? You had to know and pick your spot and be under control, whatever it is. But this part I don't like. But I did say, I'm prefacing it with the idea, I don't like moving the pile anywhere on the field.
Yeah.
It's like 3 big linemen running up behind you and jumping into the back and pushing you ahead.
Because how often you see a scrum, and if there's a quarterback there and you come up and take a shot at him, they're going to throw a flag.
Right.
But if the pile's moving, and it's objective. Whether or not the referee's going to blow the whistle, that's what I don't like. The other thing is, too, Jay just wanted to say tush on the podcast, and he said it like 4 or 5 times. So that's the real reason for this.
Yeah, I don't like that word. I get it. Dave, that was pretty.
Don't make the big man angry.
No, so there. That's my big man blitz of the week.
All right, one more game before we move on. A couple of college big matchups. The Eagles and Rams. What a classic game. I know earlier in the week we talked about, actually earlier in this podcast, special teams. That game, that was unbelievable. And then you got to feel like it was meant to be. Things have to go your way. You're the reigning Super Bowl champs, but you pull that off, and it just builds up, I guess, the confidence you have.
Yeah, the Eagles, they're 3-0, and they have not looked that great in the 3 games. They should have probably lost week 1 to Dallas.
Right.
Week 2, if Travis Kelce doesn't drop the ball in the end zone, they might lose to Kansas City. And then they were down. I mean, they took the lead initially on Sunday against the Rams, but they were down for the majority of the game. And really, I think if you're an Eagles fan, the one thing that I'd be excited about was they started to get the wide receivers involved in the second half. A.J. Brown, every time I looked up at the screen, A.J. Brown was snatching a ball away from a defensive back. So I think that's good for them. But again, you find ways to win. And whenever you can block 2 field goals, let alone in the fourth quarter, you're going to win a lot of games.
I think did they score 26 unanswered points? What was the number? I'm not sure, Dave. Maybe you can pull it up. I think they were down and out. They were being written off in that game last week. So, but that's the then championship mentality starts to take over. And as Dave mentioned, spreading the ball around, letting the receivers field. You need players like A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. They got to get them the ball, right? So, and they're real vocal about it in Philly. For some, A.J. Brown, there's always going back and forth. And if you're a receiver and the way you feel you contribute, he's got to be a major part of them being successful. So I just thought they made a huge comeback against a really good Rams team. And then we saw everything. We talked about the, special teams and what went wrong there or went right for Philly. But they had a major comeback there, and they did a great job to do it.
26-7 in the third quarter, and they scored 26 unanswered points.
Yeah. See, that's what the momentum started to go their side. Their defense, they get an angry defense led in the middle. We didn't understand the pressure and the attitude through the middle on the defensive side. They took it over, turned their game around, and they keep themselves on a nice little roll.
Let's talk about some marquee college football games. Penn State, whiteout planned, Happy Valley against Oregon. This should be a great matchup.
I'm biased, but the whiteout is an awesome experience. If you have not been there and then I read today that Oregon is wearing, and like this, the Mummy Duck glow in the dark cleats on Saturday night. So I need to have a pair of Mummy Duck cleats at home, right, Jay?
Yeah,
Mummy Duck glow in the dark cleats. It's a mouthful, but no, we've talked in prior weeks where, Penn State's schedule thus far, not impressive. Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova. Then you look at Oregon, they've played Oklahoma State, Northwestern, and then it used to be called the Civil War. It's no longer called the Civil War, but they played Oregon State this past Saturday, and they've won all their games convincingly. It all comes back to, and again, I'm a Penn State alum, but James Franklin, 4-20 against top 10 teams. 3 of those wins came in 2016 in one season. The last one was 2023 against 10th ranked Utah in the Rose Bowl. So at some point, he's got to win the big game. And especially look their schedule coming up in November at Ohio State and then home versus Indiana. Oh, by the way, Indiana just blew out Illinois last Saturday. So people seem to think Signetti, local guy, IUP. People seem to think that they were going to fall after what they did last year. Well, guess what? They haven't. So it's going to be a big game. Oregon uses a lot of running backs, 8 guys with at least 10 carries this year. Meanwhile, Penn State is just the 2 main running backs, Katron Allen, Nick Singleton, and then Drew Aller. But Aller's got to make some plays. He's not looked great in the first 3 weeks. He didn't look. He was awful last year in the playoffs against Notre Dame. He was probably the reason they lost that game. So he's going to have to come up with some big plays. But it's James Franklin's got to win a big one here, Jay.
I'm not sure why you would. I think you can do all this stuff now. I think, the schedule that they have a playoff format to win a national championship, that changed a lot of maybe the thinking of what you're doing, playing a weaker schedule versus a hard schedule. You give it a hard schedule and you lose a game early, but it's against a top or an elite team or a bigger known school. You can weather the storm and get yourself into the playoff. I'm not sure playing 3 really weak programs compared to what they should be, and now you're going against Oregon. I'm not sure that leads. It'll be interesting to see what the how it plays itself out, but I'm not sure that group is going to be as prepared as Oregon will against the. Look, listen, we all know when you raise it up another bar in college football, and you go from a solid program to you're playing in elite, there's difference. It's like, when you play an SEC team, because it seems to be the skill positions seem to be quicker, maybe a little more battle in the middle. I'm not sure what it is, but I don't like the idea of such a weak, 3 first 3 games being like that. And I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't care. I'm just looking at it as a standpoint of, for the good of the game, why are some teams like Notre Dame had a tougher schedule to start, but they're on the downside. But at the end of the day, if you come back, are they going to look at that schedule and go, well, they played 2 better teams in the beginning, they lost early. I don't know how it's going to play itself out. But if I knew I had Oregon in week 4, I wouldn't want cakewalks weeks 1, 2, and 3, and a bye week. I wouldn't want that.
Oregon probably has one of the most supported teams in college football, Dave. You know why?
Nike, the owner.
Yeah.
They got money.
Mm-hmm.
They can buy a lot of talent.
Shoes, mummy duck shoes.
That kind of stuff, too. One more college game. Number 1, Ohio State travels to the left coast of Washington. Is this a trap game, even though Washington's not ranked? But
I personally think when you're watching the way these players are in tune with everything going on in NFL, we talked about games, even just what we just saw in the past week in the NFL. I think every player is going to be on high alert that when you go out there, you need to take care of your job. And they're all listen, we're talking NFL, these guys are all being paid right now too, basically.
Right.
So it's a different world. But I do think you need a little bit of that wake up call and watching NFL teams like Green Bay going down, happy to be in Ohio, going down to Cleveland. When they're flying out west, they're going to be well prepared, well aware that they better get their, keep their, foot on the pedal, if you will, and not back off. Otherwise, they're going to find themselves in trouble too.
I think, Washington could possible letdown. The Apple Cup was last weekend against Washington State. That's always one of the big rivalries, as I talked about with Oregon State. Plus, I think the fact that last year Ohio State and, Ohio State, Michigan's probably the biggest rivalry in college football. The fact that Ohio State lost to Michigan last year, they overlooked them. Michigan had a down year last year, and they lost that game and then rebounded to do what they did in the playoffs. I think that's going to help them to maybe not overlook teams this year.
By the way, Jack Sawyer, who the Steelers got from Ohio State, he's going to be a player, I think, long-term for the Steelers. So we'll see what happens there. Let's talk about the Ryder Cup for a minute, and then we want to get to Marc-André Fleury, big weekend coming up for him and Pens fans. So, Ryder Cup, Jay, you and Dave both follow this really close.
Yeah. I think this is the greatest. It's a great 3 days of golf, and it's very involved. I mean, it's in, football is going on, college football, but this is one thing that people tune in to see and expect. The European teams always just seem to kind of like enjoy what they're doing and how they go about their game, and they come in and it's a battle. I mean, it's the greatest players playing against each other. It's an awesome thing to see, and if you're a part of it, I can't imagine what it'd be like as a golfer, a pro player, and now you're involved playing for your country, which I think every athlete would want to be able to represent. I think this one thing that's out here that came out this year, and Dave will have something to say on it too, the idea that the U.S. team is getting paid. Never. The Europeans, no way. They wouldn't let that happen. Money's always moving hands. They try and develop the history and the program that they have to make them all be the younger players to come up. The European players aren't getting money. The U.S. players are getting. I think Darren Clark came out with the story. U.S. players getting $500,000, $200,000 for themselves, and $300,000 has to go to charity, but they're getting paid. And the Europeans said they would never do that. The players, and I'm not, again, I think Luke Donald used the term, it's not enough money to what these guys do today. When it's a lot of money, believe me, for people when they hear that. But these guys make a lot of money, have made a lot of money. They're sponsors. And you're going to go out and hope you get $200,000 to add to it for you're in the Ryder Cup. It turned a lot of people off. I think if they're flat at all, and we hope not. We hope the USA team runs. But that'll be something that won't be forgotten. I think the Europeans are going to try and ride with that a little bit as a little something. They're just making a point that they're not doing. They would never do it. Their players would never entertain it. And the U.S. players did.
Good news, it's on U.S. soil this year. If it was in Europe, they'd definitely hear from the fans. Yeah. I don't know if you remember the last couple Hatgate with Patrick Campbell.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Where, he showed up not wearing the hat and they thought it was in protest to not getting paid. And he came out and said, there are all kinds of rumors, whether it's right or wrong, but he said it didn't fit, or he had a wedding coming up and he didn't want to get, the suntan. Who knows what was happening, but we're interested to see if Patrick wears a hat. Europe trying to win back-to-back for the first time since they did it 2010, 2014, 3 times. One thing I'm looking forward to is I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on it. You think, okay, captains, not a lot of pressure, but Keegan Bradley, he was a guy that he probably could have picked himself to play this year. He had a better resume than a lot of the guys that's on the U.S. team. Yeah. So if it doesn't go right, then he could get some. could get some criticism.
And I think those last cuts that come down to, I think, can you have, who was the last, one of the last ones that we thought he was going to get in. He had a great run at the end.
McNeely was one guy.
Maverick
McNeely.
Maverick McNeely. So they're the ones they're going to look at. You have to hope your captain's picks perform so they don't question, like, why is this guy in or why not?
Right.
Maybe a little boys club. I don't think Keegan Bradley, as Dave said, he was the one of those guys that didn't make the team before, wanted it really bad. Now he's the captain. So I think it's still the Bryson DeChambeau added to it. Rahm on the other side. Bryson DeChambeau making comments. He's going to get in Rory McIlroy's ear. All these kind of things stir it up and make it entertaining to watch. But I do think the pressure that goes with it. I think I would have liked to have seen Keegan Bradley be in it just because his compete level, the way he's always on the go with it. So it's kind of like you need that kind of attitude. He just has to bring it from the captain side, and I'm sure he's going to do that. But we certainly hope the U.S. team kind of gets off to a hot start. If not, it just seems like the Europeans just enjoy when they play the game. It's just they're enjoying that whole atmosphere a little bit more than what the U.S. has at times, and they've got the better of them in certain moments. But the talent on both sides, Scotty Scheffler leading the way, yeah, he's going to be that guy too. That he runs, just continues his stellar play and runs it, but leads by example. That's what I think. That's the kind of player he is. He's going to be a guy that leads by example.
Do you like that it's in September? Part of me would rather it be in the summer when you're not going up against college football, NFL football, MLB. It's winding down this weekend as well. Now hockey's starting with preseason. I mean,
yeah, I think it's. I know. I think my bigger thing of it, the PJ, was how they took away. There's nothing in August anymore. It's just they just had the FedEx Cup.
Yeah.
I would rather have that one major that they moved to May, right, and have that be in August. Yeah, right. I'd rather have that be in August. I think I'm just used to it. I know the Ryder Cup being what it is, and no, I agree with you. I'd rather not have it during football season, but I'm kind of used to it being that way. I told you I'd rather have that major in August than what they did. That's the only change I would do.
We'll keep it then.
So
yeah, we'll do that.
Jay can have the Ryder Cup on in the background. He can have a couple other screens for NFL.
I don't know how Dave does that. I don't have I can't look at multiple screens at one time. Like even in the four games on one screen, I can't do that. I don't.
Jay, when I produce games, there's like 30 camera angles I'm looking at to try to pick out replays. So it's kind of in my.
So you're it's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when I produce a review, I was looking at different angles of view.
I've seen those control rooms. I don't know how you do what you do. All right, Marc-André Fleury. He's going to retire as a Pittsburgh Penguin when that announcement was made that he's going to play this weekend for one period, wearing a Pens uniform, and then call it quits. The place went nuts. I don't think there's been a preseason game with more demand from the fans. I mean, people are paying crazy amounts of money to be there. What makes Marc-André Fleury so endeared to the fan base here?
Yeah, I think even my dealings with him and for those years that he was here, I just think his number one, his personality, his skill level, number one. There's the athleticism that he has, the way he plays the game, just enjoys every minute of it. The fan base feels that, no matter where he was at, by the way. Vegas, Minnesota, here, every fan base loved him. So it's his personality, his attitude. It rubs off on everybody in the way he plays and enjoys the game. He takes it to a different level. And when things weren't at its best here, when Murray came in and all that was going on, you didn't see any side of him that was a negative. He just rode with it and went on and still had so many more years of great hockey. I think, Larry, when you get a person like that, that's just everything about him is a goodwill. There's something always happy about him, the way he is. And his competitiveness is probably second to none as far as goaltenders are concerned. So I think all those things make the fans truly love him. And I do believe, I agree with you, probably the most beloved athlete to come through the city of Pittsburgh.
For the fans, just because they love him, and I hear he's a big prankster, like he would get in guys' hockey bags, and they would try to carry him and wonder.
He's a big kid.
Yeah, big, lovable kid. And this town, as you know, you show the fan base a little love back for him to come back and say, hey, I want to retire as a Penguin, and that's gold.
I think too, that Crosby's here, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, they're all still here. That he has the one point to do that. That's kind of a great thing. You don't see that. You rarely see that. 4 guys that almost played their whole careers together. I think that's a little added thing that's awfully kind of just a great moment for an athlete to be able to kind of have another moment together that they've all earned and done over all the years.
Yeah, I think all the post-game shows we worked with too, you talk about his struggles. If he didn't play well and the camera and microphone was in front of him, he would answer every single question.
Yeah.
And he was professional. So, on the media side, he was always great to work with. And yeah, the pranks and stuff that just,
I love it.
You love him. You love to see those guys having fun.
He'll always have a place here that the fans will love him. So salute to the flower. All right, guys. Steelers in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh,
designated home team.
First of all,
Vikings.
Tell us a little bit. You're the designated home team. What does that mean for you?
The league asked the team, what's your wish list? I'm sure Renegade and some of the other things to make it feel like they're the home team. And they asked, can we bring our public address announcer? And they said, we'll get back to you. So 2 weeks later, I don't know what they did or what they talked about or vetted me. So I'm going to get to do the game as
awesome.
The public address announcer in Croke Park Stadium. I have grandmother from the County Cork in Ireland, so this is kind of a once-in-a-lifetime dream. And then I got an email from Alan Roach, who is the voice, actually, for the Vikings, but he can't be at the game. Maybe it's because we're the home team. He does the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl, he's the, Super Bowl. He's got the great, he's the GOAT in my world.
Yeah.
And he sent me a nice note.
Awesome.
Just an email saying, hey, I hear you're doing the game. Chance of a lifetime. Have a blast. If I can help you in any way, reach out. I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you have a chance for any sightseeing this weekend?
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity. We're taking a AAA group of 170 people. And based on the fact that the Guinness Brewery is right there in Dublin, I think we'll have to blow the froth off a few pints at some point, not before the game. Speaking of the game, Jay, your prediction?
Man, the running game. Everybody thought when Carson Wentz, they thought the past weekend that Cincinnati was going to have the better quarterback, right? Better backup quarterback. I think that if McCarthy was still in the lineup, I'm way more comfortable with going to Steelers. But Wentz in there, he's going to do his thing. He's under control. Great offensive coordinator, offensive mind. Threw for 2 touchdown passes last week. Their running game is good. But I'm still going to stick going out to Ireland with the Rooney family, everything, with you being there, Larry, and everything that means that way. I'm on a 28-20 Steeler win.
Wow.
All right.
I know.
How many sacks for Larry this week?
That's pretty funny. Dave.
Well, Minnesota's favored. 1.5 right now.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Good favor.
Jordan Mason in the running game, came in for Aaron Jones, played really well. Came over from San Fran where he had some good games filling in for McCaffrey. Excited to watch Justin Jefferson versus Jalen Ramsey. Hopefully we get to see that matchup. Don't forget, though, Jordan Addison, former Pitt Panther, USC Trojan, comes back from his 3-game suspension this week. He makes his debut, another weapon for Carson Wentz to go with TJ Hawkinson and Jalen Naylor.
That's a really good
Adam
point.
Thielen. They have a lot of weapons
All right,
in Minnesota. I'm getting there. Good defense, 7 takeaways this year. I'm going Vikings 27-13.
27-13.
I don't
think the boys want to fly home with a 27-13 defeat.
It may not.
But I get it. It made all the good points.
A lot of good points, Dave.
Very good points, Dave.
We
didn't like hearing all those points, but they were very good.
I think the Steelers will score more points than last week. 24-17 Steelers win.
On a limb. I like it.
All right. That said, Larry and the Big Man with Dave Ricchini. Want to thank One Team Media with Brian Hess. Also, chance for us to thank Logan Douglas, who's producing. He's back in the shadows. And then Odyssey Pittsburgh with Michael Spacciapoli and Andrew Filipponi from 93.7 The Fan.
Yeah, and Dave Rourke Automotive. Again, thanks for being our title sponsor. We're blessed to have you, so we appreciate it. So thanks, Dave.
Offset. That's a wrap.